Good afternoon, this is Jeff with Sewer Tech Northwest. We are at 14854 Southeast 132nd Avenue here in Happy Valley. We're just to the right of the front doorway. I describe everything as if you're standing in the street looking at the front of the house. So just off to the right here, there's a little cover, although the cover doesn't have a functioning screw anymore, but it's hiding underneath that little plate there. 4-inch ABS clean out. We're going to check the overall condition and serviceability of the sanitary sewer line. We've got water currently running. We're going to zero out here at the base of the clean out, and off we go. That's quite a clean flow line right there. That's how you want your pipe to look. And by and large, that's made possible by about one habit, and that's not putting cooking oil and grease down your kitchen sink. After 13 years of scoping sewer lines, grease buildup is, I like to point it out when people are doing things right. Grease, especially when you start getting a continuous layer of it throughout the line, is quite detrimental to flow. Like right here, for instance, we have a teeny tiny, you probably will hardly even see this when we come back out. The only reason we can right now is because water's running. You've got maybe a 1-foot section of pipe right here. And this is about the only spot in the line where you have any amount of grease that's actually built up in the flow line. That's a very minor example of grease buildup, mind you. That's probably the culmination of just about all the grease they put down the line, which is very little. Swapping over here to 4-inch PVC pipe. Anyway, if you dump a ton of grease down the line, what you can expect to see is anywhere you have minor issues going on, it will tend to build up, and it often exacerbates minor, even relatively significant issues into actual problems. So what we've got right here is an offset, and that little tiny thing right, I've got a dang tree that's hanging over the top of the clean out here. It dropped a little tiny leaf or branch, whatever that is, down the line. That's all that is there. That's not a root. But you do have a pretty good size offset joint here. My camera can completely go underneath that joint. I mean, you've lost dang near 2 inches of diameter there, and as far as height goes. My camera goes under that with ease, and my camera head itself is only about 1.25 inches tall. So I mean, if you back up here, you can take a look at that. You've shrunk down to about a 2.5-inch tall line there from a 4-inch diameter line. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get a backup out of it. The joint appears to be intact, although it's really hard to say with absolute certainty, but I don't see any signs when I look at that joint there. I don't see any dirt staining, any water staining where you have water intruding through the joint and dripping down the sidewall of the pipe. But this right here is likely what led to, it sounds like there was a blockage here or something at one point. What likely happened, I have not seen that other video, but if you get a bunch of buildup in a location like this and hit it with a camera where you can't see the offset, it's going to look like you have a complete blockage in the line. So I don't know if a machine has gone through here recently to clean the line up, but my camera simply will not hop that joint. I'll give it a whirl here, but that's an offset that's near impossible to get over the top of with a camera. Alright, so this is unfortunately located underneath the walkway. There's the brick pillars that are right by the sidewalk. They kind of create the entryway for the walkway. This is on the house side of those brick pillars, but very near them. I'm gonna do a very small marking here. I don't want to put too much paint on the concrete, but that's an offset joint. There's a lot of them I don't care much about, but that's a significant one. My other concern is too, when a joint offsets enough, it's hard for it to remain completely sealed off to the ground. I'm not seeing super obvious signs this is opened up, but keep in mind, water goes through here on a regular basis, and there are a lot of cases where if dirt is intruding into the line, creating a progressive settling situation, it can sometimes be very hard to see because the water going through the line often washes it away. So this one may very well remain, it may very well be sealed up, And if that's the case, this thing has probably been this way since about the day the line was installed. The fact that it hasn't caused a blockage, I mean, I don't see any strong signs here this has been jetted recently. I don't know for sure. It's kind of amazing we don't have any buildup on top of this thing. It's remarkable, in fact. Normally when you find offsets like this, you have quite a lot of buildup in and around them because everything coming through here has to run into this darn thing and get over the top of it. So, anyway, that is one I do recommend fixing. It's significant enough that I think it warrants it in this circumstance. Alrighty, you'll see my little pink X out there, and I tried to adjust slightly for that marking. Normally when I try and locate something like this, I try to put the camera head half past it to try and center the locate antenna as directly over that as possible. In this case, I can't do that, so I adjusted the marking about 4 to 6 inches forward. You know, either way, when you open that hole up, you're going to have to expose a bit more than 6 inches or so anyway. But I'm getting between 3'9" and 3'10" inches deep there. And what I highly recommend doing, it's not always the case, but frequently when you've got an offset like that at one end, it's not uncommon that when you get to the other end of that section of pipe, sometimes you'll see shifting at that joint too. But not always. It's kind of 50-50. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. So when the ground is open during the repair process, I would recommend running the camera through that to ensure that you don't have any other issues just beyond it. I hate to see someone come out here and bust the concrete up 2 different times. That would be a shame. Everything leading up to that point looks great, nice and clean. But we do need to see the latter half of the line too, so another reason to get another scope done on this. All said and done, this is probably going to require a scope during the repair and likely another scope at the end of it too. Probably a third one when it's all buttoned up and buried and everything.